All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Filmworker 2017. I'm giving this 5 out of 5 stars. I love this film. Filmworker is a 2017 U.S. documentary film directed by Tony Zira about Leon Vitali, a successful British actor who, after playing the role of Lord Billingdon in the Stanley Kubrick directed Barry Lyndon, a crappy movie, by the way, he gave up his acting career to work for decades as Kubrick's assistant. But he doesn't consider himself an assistant. He considers himself a film worker because he's basically doing the editing and the cinematography and the casting. He's a jack of all trades. He's working 24-hour days, 7 days a week, sleeping in his clothes. I mean, to me, this guy's doing the dream job. I would have loved to have done that. Work for Stanley Kubrick. Anyways, cool flick. Sort of gives you an idea of what an ideal job would be on this miserable planet. All right. Filmworker premiered at the 2017 Cannes Film Festival on May 19th, and it was nominated for the Ellie d'Or, Le Prix du Documentaire at Cannes. Cannes, Cannes. Release date 2017. Running time 94 minutes. Pretty decent running time. I posted the links to the free movie on To Be or Not to Be, plus the YouTube free trailer. Country United States and language English after his performance as Lord Billington in the crappy Stanley Kubrick Barry Lyndon. Actor Leon Vitali gave up his career to become Kubrick's personal assistant. For more than 2 decades, Vitali played a crucial role behind the scenes, helping Kubrick make and maintain his body of work. In Filmworker, Vitali's experiences with Kubrick are brought together with previously unseen photos, videos, letters, notebooks, and memos from his private collection. Interviews with actors, family, crew members, and key film industry professionals who worked with Kubrick and Vitali are also utilized throughout the film. Director Tony Zira was working on another Kubrick-related project when he met Leon Vitali. After extensively interviewing Vitali, Zira and his producing partner Elizabeth Yoff decided that his story should be told. They began shooting what would become Filmmaker. The film took 3 years to complete, and it was shot in California, New York, Kentucky, UK, and Sweden. Filmworker features interviews with actors and film industry professionals who worked with or knew Kubrick and or Leon Vitali, as well as members of Vitali's own family. Participants include actors Ryan O'Neal, Barry Lyndon and Barry Lyndon, Danny Lloyd, Danny Torrance in The Shining, forgot to give him credit, Matthew Modine, the private joker in Full Metal Jacket, forgot to put him in there. Ermey, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in Full Metal Jacket. Marie Richardson, Marion in Eyes Wide Shut, forgot to put her. Stillian Skarsgård, Pramila August, Brian Capron, and Treva Etienne, morgue orderly in Eyes Wide Shut, forgot to include him. Film industry's professionals in Filmworker include former and current Warner Brothers executives Julian Sr., Brian Jameson, Warren Lieberfarb, Steve Southgate, and Ned Price. Filmmaker was given a long-standing ovation after its premiere at Cannes. Following Cannes, the press and critical reviews were favorable. On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of a whopping 95% based on 86 reviews and an average rating of 7.7 out of 10. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 73 out of 100 based on 19 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Owen Gleiberman in Variety gave Filmworker a positive review and wrote that it is the best of the Kubrick-themed documentaries. Gwilyn Mumford wrote in The Guardian that Filmworker is a revealing and stirring celebration of one of cinema's unacknowledged heroes. Bilge Ebery of Village Voice put Filmworker on his list of 12 best movies at Cannes 2017. Anne Hornaday in the Washington Post called Filmworker movie love at its purest and said that Vitali's story marked an incursion of the real world into Cannes in the very best sense, as a celebration of its anonymous inhabitants' role in bringing our collective dreams to life. Leon Vitali died on August 19, 2022 in Los Angeles. The AP story about Vitali's death states that Tony Zierra is working on a director's cut of Filmworker that will include new footage that he and Vitali wanted in the film but couldn't get done in time for its Cannes debut in 2017. The director's cut of Filmworker premiered on July 19, 2025 at Low Cinema in Ridgewood, New York, as part of a week-long run of the film work of Tony Zierra. Nobody's in the chat room. Nobody cares about Filmworker. All right. Filmworker 2017, 1 hour, 34 minutes. It's a whopping 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. 3,700 ratings. Not spectacularly popular, but pretty decent following for a documentary. A documentary about how English actor Leon Vitali came to work as an assistant to U.S. filmmaker Stanley Kubrick for over 30 years. I thought Stanley Kubrick was UK based. Why are they saying US filmmaker? Because he worked for Warner Brothers? All right. Here's Gorks on IMDb. There's no rating on it, but there should be a date on here. Let's see what the date says. Okay, this review is dated May 20th, 2018. Effective, if a bit disconcerting doc about Kubrick's assistant, Leon Vitali. That's the title of the review on IMDb. Stanley Kubrick was known as one of the most fanatically detailed directors in cinema, but even the most detailed of filmmakers could not possibly attend to each and every facet of the process. It requires many co-workers. One of those collaborators was Leon Vitali. But Vitali wasn't just an assistant. He literally became Kubrick's jack of all trades for much of the last quarter century of his life. One of the ironies is that Kubrick was so picky with his projects that he completed only 3 films, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut, from the time that Vitali became his assistant to his death. And even then, post production had to be completed on Eyes posthumously because the director died before he even had a chance to cut the film. And then Vitali got all the bad reputation for doing the editing on Eyes Wide Shut, I guess. Which is kind of interesting. I didn't even know that. The man closest to Kubrick, so at least they tried. But I think they failed miserably. The ending just doesn't make any sense to Eyes Wide Shut. I think it's a way overrated film. Filmworker is director Tony Sierra's effective and sometimes confounding portrait of Vitali. Vitali became enthralled by Kubrick when he went to see 2001 as a young man. By the time that Clockwork Orange came out, Vitali had begun a career as an actor largely on British television. His fascination with Kubrick continued, so the opportunity to score even a small role in Kubrick's Barry Lyndon was literally the chance of a lifetime. As fate would have it, Kubrick took a liking to Vitali's performance as Lord Billingdon, and he rewrote the script in order to increase the part. This gave Vitali an opportunity to not only observe the director at work, but to put a bug in his ear that he might like to work for him on future films. That opportunity came with the work with The Shining. What follows is a fascinating portrait of Kubrick as a combination of kindly maestro and toxic vampire. He could cajole Vitali and the cast and the crew of a picture on one hand, and then demand effort and, frankly, ability above and beyond on the other. Not just Vitali, but others describe how exhausting Kubrick's demands were. More than one person is mentioned as having a form of a nervous breakdown on his sets. Through it all, Vitali's importance to Kubrick grew and grew, from being a fairly defined purely director's assistant on The Shining to what would become an all-consuming full-time job as his boss's virtual alter ego. Kubrick would even sign Vitali's name on some of his missives. Director Sierra's documentary is densely packed, for it is 94 minutes, a good assortment of clips illustrate both Kubrick's films, but also Vitali's early career as an actor. Plus, there's a smattering of behind-the-scenes footage. Most of it is well chosen, even if occasionally they became the equivalent of visual wallpaper in order to have stuff to cut away from the talking heads. Vitali is the main interviewee, but we also get other Kubrick collaborators both in front of and behind the camera, and extending to text in charge of post-production, distribution, and home video. Sierra managed to get lead actor Ryan O'Neal to speak about Barry Lyndon, but he was unable to secure Jack Nicholson or Shelley Duvall from The Shining. Danny Lloyd, who was all of 6 represents, disappointingly, neither Tom Cruise nor Nicole Kidman cooperated either. 17th Bill Mary Richardson is the lone cast member other than Vitali. Matthew Modine and the late Ermey, whose death came after Filmworker was completed, speak about Full Metal Jacket. The interviews are informative and well edited, although it must be noted that Kubrick himself would have been aghast at the chalky HD camera work in them. In one amusing scene, we see Kubrick direct a brief videotaped acceptance speech that Vitali recorded. Yes, he was that detail oriented. What emerges is a compelling portrait of one artist, Vitali, essentially giving his life over to facilitate another's, Kubrick. As mentioned, Kubrick only made 3 films during the nearly 25-year tenure of Vitali as his assistant. What was he doing in between films? Filmworker shows that Kubrick's attention to minutiae extended to attending to each and every painstaking detail of how his completed films were preserved, distributed, and promoted. Kubrick would cut special trailers for each major country his films got released in, sometimes differing by only a frame or two. We see Vitali standing in pile after pile of boxes of old files, VHS tapes, clippings, etc. It became, by his account, a 24/7 position, including holidays, even during the off years between films, a full dozen between Jacket and Eyes Alone. Sierra thoughtfully dedicates his doc to all film workers, not just Vitali, but one can't help but feel he never quite addresses the elephant in the room. Why did Vitali give up a promising career as an actor to become a glorified gopher? Other than his professional work, we are given precious little insight to Vitali the man. We see his 3 children briefly interviewed, but his wives, supposedly 3, aren't discussed. Perhaps appropriately, the only old footage we see of his kids is with Vitali steeped in work, with the children playing in these boxes of Kubrick world. Vitali addresses the camera directly, and Vitali says it was all worth it, but you can't help but wonder. Yes, it was all done voluntarily, but at a certain point, one has to ask if it wasn't some deranged form of Stockholm syndrome. While Vitali may never have become a great actor, his resume was adding up. You would think he had some creative bones still in him, that at some juncture he would have asked Kubrick for a more creative role, or to even strike out on his own. It's somewhat consoling that Vitali feels he played a role in a great filmmaker's au revoir, but one can't escape a mild feeling of depression slipping in. The thought of the dozen years between Metal and Eyes being taken up by artistic input, but instead slaving over the box art of the Japanese VHS tape of 2001, or recutting a trailer for the French re-release of The Shining, does cast a pall on Filmworker. Zira has made a fine documentary. The fact that not every question is answered may be a noble, just like Kubrick, or just like Vitali, perhaps. So we're asked why he gave up a a promising, successful acting career to be Kubrick's bitch, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I think the answer is that Leon Vitali actually enjoyed being the jack of all trades for Kubrick, and so I don't think it's a big mystery that needs to be answered. I think it's pretty obvious. All right, More like the Stanley Kubrick A Life in Pictures Kubrick by Kubrick. The Outsiders, Titty Cut Follies. And then we've got It's a rare person who would give up fame and fortune to toil in obscurity for someone else's creative vision. Yet that's exactly what Leon Vitali did after his acclaimed performance as Lord Billington in Stanley Kubrick's crappy film Barry Lyndon, 1975. The young actor surrendered his thriving career to become Kubrick's loyal right-hand man. I think bitch is a better term. For more than 2 decades, Leon played a crucial role behind the scenes, helping Kubrick make and maintain his legendary body of work. In Filmworker, Leon's candid, often funny, sometimes shocking experiences in the company of Kubrick are woven together with rich and varied elements, including previously unseen photos, videos, letters, notebooks, and memos from Leon's private collection, insightful, emotionally charged anecdotes from actors, family, crew members, and key film industry professionals who work with Kubrick and Leon add an important layer of detail and impact to the story. Filmworker enters the world of Leon Vitali and Stanley Kubrick from a unique perspective that highlights the nitty-gritty of the creative process. By experiences Leon's journey, we come to understand how the mundane gives rise to the magnificent, as timeless filmmaking is brought to life as at its most practical and profound level. That's the storyline from E. Off. If you like Stanley Kubrick films, you're going to love this one. Anyways, the remarkable untold story of Leon Vitali, who gave up fame and fortune to serve for decades as Stanley Kubrick's right-hand man. This features The Killing from 1956. Soundtracks, Happy Birthday, Dear Jesus, written by Mildred J. Hill and Patty S. Hill. That's a snippet from Full Metal Jacket. Then you've got release date May 11, 2018 in Canada, country of origin US, official sites in both the US and Japan are on IMDb. Language is English, also known as something in Japanese that I can't read. Filming locations, Los Angeles, California, USA. Production company, True Studio Media. Box office, U.S. gross in Canada. Gross U.S. and Canada, $102,609. Gross worldwide, $112,828. Opening weekend, U.S. and Canada, $7,984. On May 13th, 2018. Runtime 1 hour 34 minutes, 94 minutes. I don't know about the director's cut because I didn't see the correct director's cut. This is in color and the aspect ratio is 1.78 to 1. And they do talk about aspect ratio in this one. It's not 1.78, I think it's 1.77. So going down my list, I've got number 1, Firestorm, 1998, followed by Murder at 1600, 1997, followed by Unbreakable, A Story of Hope and Healing in Haiti, 2014. Those are the next 3 coming down the pike. Fortunately, I was able to sell my Procter & Gamble call option. So I only had to dig into my other speculative income earning investment, very tiny percentage, like $350 to get me through the next 2 weeks. And then I get my big bonus check at the end of the year. So hopefully that'll get me back on track. I'm only making about 1,700 a month in small short-term capital gains. And I was hoping to do 8,000 a month so that I could find a better place to live or buy another car and let my son drive my car next year when he gets his driver's license. Anyways, yeah, the stock market tanked today. I still managed to sell my Procter and Gamble call option at a profit, which was amazing. I don't know how I do it. All my other investments are in the red, and then I have this one call option that just spikes up for a split second, just high enough for me to make a profit. And it's been like that for the last 2 months. Fortunately, it netted me $1,100, which is the bulk of my spending for next month. Next few weeks. So that was good. I avoided another cash crunch, so to speak. It still was pretty bad, but it could have been a lot today with the stock market tanking the way it did. So hopefully I'll do better on Monday, and I'll start making money again. I just got these really tiny little contracts, these small cap AI companies. And I think one of them already rebounded, went straight up after hours. So that'll be good. All right. Well, thanks for checking my channel. This is definitely a decent Kubrick documentary. I don't know what this person on IMDb is complaining about. Like I said, it's pretty obvious that he had a passion for working with Kubrick, and he even said that Kubrick reminded him of his own father. He was like a father figure. So why is it a big surprise? I don't know. I guess people nowadays, they think that wealth and name recognition is more important than doing what you really love to do as your career progresses. I don't know. I just thought he got promoted to something better. I didn't think of it as a step down. I mean, just because you're making tons of money as an actor doesn't make you a better person per se. It doesn't follow. It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. But people think that material things are more important than being happy in life. It's not all that surprising that someone would post a review like that. It's just my 2 cents worth nothing after inflation. And you even see the Vitali guy going to Catholic church and praying. So, even though he's kind of scruffy, he looks like Sasquatch from one of the churches that I go to in Belmont. All right. Well, I think I've discussed Filmworker enough. Tried to get Firestorm and Murder at 1600 under my belt. Tomorrow and the Monday we'll try for Unbreakable, a story and healing of hope and healing in Haiti. Laters.